And I am live for 30 minutes. Pretty tight cutoff on this one. And then I got to head over to Patreon to do another live stream. But I wanted to talk live on here. I've been having fun doing live stuff this week. When I haven't done it for a while, it gets intimidating. It's scary because it's trying to read everything and be off the cuff, everything. It's very stressful to do live streams like this. But now that I'm back in the groove, it's something that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in 2020 to make a regular part of my Saturday routine, that at 1 o'clock Central Time, do a live stream for about 30, 45 minutes. Join you guys, take your questions, do the best I can. And then every Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time, I do a live stream on Patreon. So thought I might as well kick one off before I even do that. Start over here, answer some of your questions, see what happens, have some fun with it. Transformicons, will you watch Cats? No. Well, I mean, maybe some point in time. Probably at some point in time I'll watch it just for the novelty of having watched Cats. I was invited to the press screening. It was the same day as Star Wars. And so just because the timing of it, it just didn't work to review it, and I wasn't going to go hate watch it. I wasn't planning on doing a worst of the year list, so there's just no reason for me to go watch it. I'm not the target audience, so it didn't happen. Mr. Finner, what's your favorite James Bond movie? Casino Royale. I thought it just kind of mixed everything really nicely. Found a way to make a card game stressful and intense. So I thought that movie was just really, really, really solid. And I'll be going through all the Bond movies and rankings and the different actors' films leading up to the new ones. I'll have a lot of Bond content. This month, it'll be the Roger Moore movie. So if you're wanting to join in all of this, watch the Roger Moore movies. And about 3 weeks from now, I'll do a ranking of the Roger Moore films. And then when all of them are out, I'll rank all of them together. Last person, have you seen 2019's Third Ready or Not? Yeah, I have a review on my channel of it, and then I talked about it in my biggest surprises of the year. So I've talked about it a whole bunch on my channel. Oompa Loompa, what do you think of the Darksaber? You know, I'm familiar enough to know that it's significant, but I'm not familiar enough to have a strong opinion on it. What I do like is, in general, they're going deep with their mythology. I like that. I think that that's a nice touch that they're trying to find tied together the other stuff. It's not just these standalone series, but they're actually paying attention in building on one another. That's what I really like. Kevin, Lego Films, what's the best animated film of the decade? I don't really know. I've been working on my best of the decade list, and I had several contenders for maybe my animated films that might make it in there. I really don't know. There's a bunch of them. Toy Story 3 and 4, Wreck-It Ralph, Tangled, Lego Movie, that are all just really good, solid movies that are interesting to me. Jeremy Webb, have you seen all the Jaws movies? Yeah, I have a ranking on my channel of all the Jaws movies, so you can check out my thoughts on all of them. Darth Vader, Sean, can you rank the Clone Wars seasons? It's possible. I have it on my mind to try and watch all of them to do a ranking after the new season is done. That'd be fun to do it with my son. But, so you understand, like, I watch everything before I rank it. I don't do it off old memories. So I've kind of watched Clone Wars before, but I wouldn't rank it based off of that. I would rewatch it. So ranking the seasons of a show is a big ask because it requires me to do a whole bunch of watching of stuff. Kevin Martinez, Super Chat, thank you so much. What's your favorite Christian Bale Batman movie? I go back and forth between The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. I love origin stories, and so Batman Begins is just right up my alley. It came out right when I was trying to do kind of like body transformation stuff myself, and so Christian Bale was an inspiration because he'd gone from The Machinist, where he was 120 pounds, to where he's just like thick in the training sections at Batman Begins in a very short period of time. That's something I was trying to do at that phase in my life and was pretty successful at it. He was an inspiration. So that was important to me. And then The Dark Knight is, of course, a classic, great villain, great performance from Heath Ledger, and just an interesting film in the genre because it is such a like complex crime thriller. So I go back and forth between the two of those. Vinny, Cole Vinny, how do you stay motivated with working out and cardio? So like for me, it's just part of the routine. I just wanted to make it part of my life, is that it's not, sometimes it's about, for a long time it was about goals, like have a goal that I was passionate about. So I, like when I got engaged, I was 24, 25, I was 6'1", that's how tall I am, and 137 pounds. So really skinny guy. And I didn't like that. I wasn't happy with that being that skinny. That's not the person that I felt like I was. So when I got engaged, I was like, this is the point in time where I need to be motivated to try and be the person that I feel like I am. And so then I just read extensively about weightlifting and everything like that. Just dug in deep and just committed to a diet and workout routine. By the time I got married, I was 185 pounds. And then that wasn't a clean bulk or anything like that. That was pretty dirty. But like, because I was so skinny, for me, it just looked like I'd filled out really nicely. And now I'm a good bit heavier than that. But it's just about having something you're passionate about and then building it into your daily routine. That's what it's all about. And so that's, I want to be the healthiest version of myself to be able to do this channel at the best of my ability and be able to do 4-hour live streams. I did 2 4-hour live streams in a week because I did one over on Ryan O'Toole's channel. And to do that, like, I'm just trying to be as healthy as I can. So that's what's motivating me now of like every day being like, I want to be awesome at being a YouTuber, make great content. I need to be the best version of me to be able to do that. That's where it comes from. Mr. McSqueezy, what is your favorite Disney film of all time? The Lion King. All that whole Disney Renaissance is kind of my era. Love those films. Very important films for me because I was the perfect age for the Disney Renaissance. And so Lion King is just like the peak of all of them. Seth Johnson, The Witch or The Lighthouse? I've actually never seen The Witch. And so actually when I saw The Lighthouse, it was it was a secret screening. I showed up at it and they're like, it's from the director of The Witch. I was like, that's not helpful information because I haven't seen that one to be able to interpret all of this. So I have to go with The Lighthouse, and I really actually don't even know very much about The Witch to even have a comparison to even think if it would be a good fit for me or not. Alex just says, why is your profile picture blank? Because YouTube sucks. That's why it's infuriating. It's so frustrating. About a month ago, it just disappeared out of the blue. So I went to update it. Nothing came back. So I communicated with support, and they weren't helpful. And eventually it came back. It updated finally. And then about a week later, it deleted again. I emailed support and they're like, hey, we're looking into it. And then nothing. Like, it's just nothing fixed. They keep giving me updates. Hey, we're looking into it. There's a glitch. I was like, yeah, obviously there's a glitch. I don't have a profile thing. And this is like, for me, this window where it's been missing is my winter peak. This is like end of the year, Star Wars movie. This is like an important time for me where kind of like it gives me, like, the channel does good enough to ride me through January and February where things slow down. And so then during that time, I didn't have my little picture icon. And then beyond that, every single day I get 30 people asking me, hey, why is it blank? Why is it blank? And it's because of YouTube. Like, it's just a glitch. It's just right at the perfectly wrong time, just deleted it, and they can't fix it. Patrick Trapmore, have you played Jedi Fallen Order? I've reviewed it. I have a review on my channel. You can check it out. It's like 10 minutes long. But yeah, it's already happened. And everybody, as you're thinking about asking me questions, like my thoughts on something, especially if it's pretty recent, just do a search to see if I've done it. Nehemiah, I'm not going to say your last name. Quiet Place Part 2. All right, I didn't do a trailer reaction, and I said in my most anticipated that I wanted to see the trailer for the first time on the big screen in front of The Grudge. I did. I saw the trailer. So here's my thoughts on The Quiet Place 2. Because writing on the excitement of the first film, I'm still very excited about it. But the trailer itself kind of affirmed my fears for this new movie. And what that is that it's losing the magic of what made the first one so interesting and original. Because the first one worked because it had this interesting gimmick and these tight family dynamics. So it's not just post-apocalyptic movie with monsters. We've seen 1,000 of that. But there's a very neat kind of quiet gimmick inside of it that worked with these specific family dynamics that just built great tension. And then this one, it just feels very Walking Dead. Like Walking Dead. And we already have Walking Dead. And we've got a lot of Walking Dead. But this sort of idea, like you see kind of the downfall and then you discover the biggest threat aren't the creatures, but the humans themselves. And it's not that I'm not excited for it. I mean, I will be there as soon to watch it, as optimistic as anybody. But the trailer itself makes me a little bit nervous that magic is going to be gone. A lot of what made the original kind of so special. Yusuf Basil, can you review Avatar: The Last Bender? If you're talking about the movie, no, I did my M. Night Shyamalan ranking. That's my thoughts on it. I don't really do roast rankings. Chris Stuckman has that space, and I'm not looking to step into like this, like, look at me burn this movie. He does that awesome. So if you're talking about the TV series, no, because I just don't. I do current TV shows that kind of tie into my brand, that kind of feel like there's overlap with what I do here for the most part. But just doing old stuff, it's just a lot of work to review TV shows because it's a season is 10 hours to 20 hours as opposed to a movie that's 2 hours. And that just becomes very time restrictive very, very, very quickly. Ocean Cola, favorite horror series? Scream. Scream is my era of horror movies. The first one came out, I believe, my freshman year in high school, and then by the time I graduated, the original trilogy had come out. So that Kevin Williamson kind of meta commentary on the genre while being a slasher movie itself, that is my era, The Faculty, all that stuff. And so then Scream is the pinnacle of that for me. So I just really, really dug that one. GoZX21913, LSU or Clemson? I don't have strong opinions on this, but I'm going to have to go with Clemson. I went to college in South Carolina. I went to a Bible college. I was a pastor for 8 years. So I went to Columbia International University. And so Clemson, and South Carolina are kind of like those schools that I kind of associate with just from my college years, even though I did not go to them. So I have no connections to LSU to be interested in them. So I got to go with Clemson for that reason. Olin, how do you rank the Mission Impossible villains? Oh, that's tough. It's tough to rank things off the top of my head because I don't have the list in front of me. What do we have, 6 movies now? I mean, Mission Impossible 2 guys at the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, it's really tough to do. Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think he'd be kind of pretty high up there, kind of close to number 1-ish. The guy that was in both 5 and 6, as well as the surprise villain, they're way up there in the top 3. The bad guy in number 4, which I love, probably at number 5 or something like that. He's specifically not very interesting. It's something like that. That's around where we're at. But yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman was great. And then Dougray Scott. Oh, this is the worst part about this. This is the worst part of that. So Dougray Scott, the guy that I just said is the worst villain in the Mission Impossible franchise, he was going to be Wolverine. He was going to be Hugh Jackman. And then he couldn't do it because of conflicts with Mission Impossible 2. So he traded in Wolverine and all of Hugh Jackman's career to be the worst villain in the Mission Impossible franchise. Logan Pear, how tall are you? I'm 6'1". That's actually come out twice in here. Twitter, Twister25, dude, I live in South Carolina. Very cool. I spent 3 years of my life out there. Gorgeous place. And you have trees there, which is cool, and beaches. So that's nice. Here it's just flat and not a lot of trees where I'm at specifically. It's me, Chris. What do you think of the Final Destination? I have a ranking. I've got all the movies. I did it last February, so it's even my current kind of speed at which I do things. So it's already out there. RZK, what SpongeBob character do you like? I've never seen an episode of SpongeBob. I have no investment in SpongeBob whatsoever or knowledge of SpongeBob, so unfortunately, that's a problem. Majestic Demon, would you agree that The New Grudge is the greatest film of all time? Here's what I would say. The New Grudge is the best movie I've seen this year. It's number 1 on my list. I keep lists of all the movies that I watch every year, all the new releases. It's number 1 on the list. It's my overall favorite film of the decade. Granted, I've only seen one new release this decade and this year, so it's a very short list with no competition. And I think it's awful. It got an F from CinemaScore, and that's a little bit generous on CinemaScore's part. It's a terrible, terrible movie. If you guys haven't watched my review of The Grudge, check it out. I did something fun with the beginning, and then I changed out my intro a little bit, and I changed the way I do my scorecard at the end. And so I did a couple changes with it. Just check it out just a little bit. I think it's a little bit of fun, even if you don't care about watching the movie itself. Matt G gave a super chat with no question. I do appreciate that. Cole Pratt, do you watch any sports? I don't really watch any sports. I'm just too busy. I don't have time to add on to it. Like, I played fantasy football, and with my Patreon, we actually had 2 fantasy football leagues inside of it, and then I had a third one with people I kind of know in real life. And so I did 3 fantasy football leagues. I did not watch a single football game this season. Actually, though, on Sunday, was it Sunday? On Monday, I went to a football game, the First Responders Bowl in Dallas. Was it West Wyoming versus West Kentucky? I was actually there for that game. So that's pretty cool. Got to go for free. My wife, it was sponsored by, it's the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl, and my wife works for Serve Pro, and she was kind of the person that helped organize a bunch of stuff behind it. So that was pretty cool. That's the only football game I've watched, though, this season. I don't watch a lot of sports. I used to go to a lot of hockey games because my in-laws lived a mile from the local hockey rink. It's like minor league hockey. It's like the team that feeds into the Dallas Stars. The Texas Stars were right a mile from where they live. So I went to a ton of Texas Stars games about 5 years back. For about 3-4 years there, we went, I went to like 10 games a season, and then they moved down the road just far enough that entire like phase of life disappeared. And I don't watch sports anymore. Oh, this isn't. I'm trying to grab a question. Guitar Master, do you like Lord of the Rings? I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth fanboy at all. I enjoy the films enough. They're just not favorites of mine. And they seem like one of those things where people just love it. And so when I say that I don't love it, they're like, why don't you like Lord of the Rings? It's like, I didn't say I don't like it. I said it's not my favorite. Like, I don't sit down and like roll my eyes at it and think it's awful. It's just not my thing, and it never really has been. Movie Central, Mandalorian or The Rise of Skywalker? Mandalorian. I think Mandalorian's a lot better. Rise of Skywalker, as I've repeatedly said, felt like kind of like fast food. It felt like microwave Star Wars instead of fine dining. Star Wars was supposed to be fine dining, and it wasn't. At least cinematic. Star Wars was supposed to be fine dining. It was like microwave dinner. Still enjoyed it. I enjoy TV dinners all the time. I eat them all the time. But it's not the same thing as eating a real, properly cooked meal. That's what Rise of Skywalker was for me. Mandalorian, I just was like, I love that this exists. I love what Jon Favreau did with it. I didn't mind that it was episodic in nature really at all. I still enjoyed all the episodes. And I watched it with my son, and that was just a really cool little experience for me. Professor Magic, have you watched Glee? I watched the first season. Like, I was absolutely drinking the Glee Kool-Aid when it was first airing, that first season. And then the second season, by like the third episode, I was just done. I was like, I had enough of a break, and then it came back, and it was like they'd gotten full on themselves and thought they could do anything. And I just thought it got terrible. And I think there's always kind of a little bit of terrible in the mix there, but it was just so obvious where it was like, let's have John Stamos and Britney Spears, and everyone's mass hallucinating because they went to the same dentist. And then they tried to take on loss of faith in this episode where someone had like a piece of toast that had Jesus's face on it, and they thought that gave them miracles. And it was just stuff that I just thought was really in poor taste. And so it burned me out real quick. Lone Wolf 6, watch Supernatural? If yes, rank and characters. I've seen the first 3 seasons or so. With all TV shows, it's incredibly difficult for me to do rankings of them. And basically, all the shows that I can do rankings for are the shows that I have done rankings for. They're ones like I'm actively watching, have actively taken notes on, or something like that. And you think like Supernatural, I could never catch up. Like, stop and think. I mean, 15 seasons at 20 episodes a season, so what, 250, 300 episodes? That's hundreds of hours of watching just to do one video or 2 videos. That's impossible. I couldn't do that. And it's just such a huge risk, and that's where a lot of it gets really tricky. Leo with a super chat, but no question. Thank you so much for that. Vinny, failing to understand what's going on with Collider all over Twitter. Brief explanation. Oh dear, I thought this would come up. So if you guys don't know, 2 days ago, so my journey into getting into doing this like without question, the show that started my path down this, John Campia's precursor to Movie Talk, was called For Your Consideration. He had it on his own personal channel, and like I found out about it through Collider the blog, and Steve Frosty was on it a little bit. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this John Campia fellow. And like 6 months later, that turned into AMC Movie Talk. And I watched it every day for like 5 years straight. And eventually AMC Movie Talk was purchased by Collider, and then Campia left, and there's ownership shifts. But Movie Talk has been this staple of movie space for years, and that was a crucial piece in me being where I am right now, talking to you right now. So 2 days ago, and for the last 2 years since Campia left and did his own channel, the numbers have been pretty steep decline. And there's compared to where they were when in the heyday 3-4 years ago versus what they were getting a month ago, 2 months ago. I mean, just dramatic drop in numbers. Pretty staggering for me to see. Very kind of an odd moment for me because back in the day I was watching Movie Talk and they get 100 views per episode, and then the numbers were much lower to like 15,000, 20,000, and I'm thinking, my end of year rankings are out doing that. Like it was like a weird thought for me to like, wow, my numbers are surpassing those at certain points in time. Certain points in time, not always. I don't want to overinflate my importance or anything like that. So they announced 2 days ago that the word they phrased was exciting announcement. We've got a new direction for our company, and we're like going to do these deep fakes, and we're going to do comic book shopping and these celebrity interviews. But to make way for all this exciting new stuff we're doing, we're going to have to cut our live programming. And so Movie Talk, Heroes, Jedi Council, all canceled. So these shows that a number of us started watching 8 years ago, or they've been a version of them for 8 years, kind of got axed. And apparently at least 3 full-time employees lost their jobs. A lot of part-time people lost their jobs. And I fully understand, like, if hard decisions have to be made. There's no way to sustain what they were doing with the numbers that they were getting. Like, I can do what I'm doing because I have no cost. I just have to be able to make enough money for myself and to sustain it. But, like, I've got so few, I have to pay for Adobe and I have to pay for like the music licenses for stuff I do, but it's like very low cost. One episode of their show, they're paying the staff like 3 people behind the cameras. They're in a studio. Like that's so expensive. And so you have to get really big numbers to justify paying 3 on-screen personalities plus all of this set and stage and everything. This is just a room in my house. I'm shooting on a webcam right now. And so they weren't getting the numbers. The business decision had to be made to cancel it. Totally fair, like totally fair decision. But where it gets nasty is that people lost their jobs and they had no notice. They were told like 2 hours before it was made public. That's not cool. Right after the holidays, axing people, not cool. And this shows have been around for like 8-9 years, and there was no final show. There's no final broadcast. That just seems like a slap in the face. Not cool. And then today, I guess it was yesterday maybe, one of the guys that I guess is the number 2 over there is Jack, something like that, retweeted a panel that Collider hosted with Quentin Tarantino watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And it was something like, gee, I wonder why Collider decided to cancel shows with movie commentary and fart jokes instead, like when we can do stuff like this snarky, just rude comment. And so then Ken Knapsack called him out on it, like, dude, some of us have been doing this a lot longer than you've been alive, and what are you doing, man? Like, people lost their jobs. This is not how you respond. And he kept, like, responding like, well, dude, and it just feels like whoever's running things over there is totally out of touch with the fan base. Hard decisions have to be made sometimes. That's fair enough. If you're not getting the numbers, fair enough. But what they did in the way they responded, and this Jack guy, whoever this, I don't know the guy. These tweets I've read of his are just so tone deaf, clueless, prickish. I mean, just total, like what's probably happening is he spent 2 days being like, hey, for 2 years we put your shows on the air and I'm just getting burned by people all over the internet just complaining we canceled these shows. But he can't step back for a second and think, he just can't step back and go, oh, the way we presented this was it's exciting that we just fired a bunch of people. Like all they had to do is present it as like, guys, we know Movie Talk has been a staple of this space for a long time, but as of recently, the numbers simply aren't there, and we're having to make the hard decision to cancel it, and we want to do one big final show to celebrate everything we can't, like all that's been done before, and it's going to be on this date. We're so sorry we have to cancel it, but they didn't do that. They said it was exciting. I haven't really watched Movie Talk in 2 years because I'm too busy with my own channel, and I didn't think it was the same once Campy left. But it's not exciting to me that it was canceled, even though like I haven't enjoyed the show, but it's not exciting to me that it's done. That's just, I don't know what they're thinking. Anyway, that's the story. I didn't mean to talk about this for so long. My name is Liam. When are you releasing the other James Bond actor rankings? Also big fan, been watching the past year. And it's going to be one a month. So there'll be, in 2 weeks, we'll do Roger Moore. And then a month after that, it'll be the Junk Drawer with Lazenby and Dalton. And then the one from the 50s and Peter Sellers. And then the month after that, it'll be Pierce Brosnan. But it's once a month. We're about 3 weeks out from the next one. Woo! Got a bunch of questions I got to fly through, and then I got to head on out of here. The Dark Knight 1014. Which movie freaked you out the most when you were a kid? When I was a kid, I don't know. When I first watched Predator late at night without anyone around me, it freaked me out pretty bad. Like skinned people alive and stuff like that is pretty tense. But I've never really been afraid of movies or anything like that in the traditional sense. So I don't have a good answer to like legitimately be like, I was freaked out by this movie. Like the probe in Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home freaked me out. Like that's what freaked me out. But there wasn't like specific movies. Mikey Campbell, what makes a horror movie great in your opinion? I don't know, having an interesting vibe to it, like having something that makes it stick out, whether the characters, the concept of it, and delivering an interesting world that you want to be in. So, you really enjoyed the characters in Scream. It had a nice, like, comedic tone while still being a good slasher. But you look at The Grudge, and it's just generic, like, things jumping out of nowhere stuff. Or like the Conjuring spin-offs. It's just haunted house, things jumping out at you. The characters aren't interesting. Contrast that with the original Conjuring. The Warrens are great characters played by great actors. And James Wan did these practical effects that were interesting and creepy. And so you enjoyed being in the world. And it felt like you went back to the 70s. So you liked the ambiance of it. And I think that's the thing of just finding a way to tell a good story with great characters that's interesting, that's a horror movie, not just being like, haunted houses are fun. All right, what's our gimmick? They come out of the bathtub a lot. I don't think that works. Vindicated Bean, who's your favorite director and why? Steven Spielberg, and it's because he has the most, like, great movies in the most genres. I mean, Jaws, thriller, Indiana Jones, adventure film, sci-fi adventure. You've got Jurassic Park, just drama. You've got Schindler's List, war movie. You've got Saving Private Ryan. I mean, he's just done so many different things, all with excellence. Daniel Shelley with a super chat. You the man, Sean. Keep doing your thing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Old School Gamer, what is the most overrated movie that you have ever seen? It's always tough for me to pick most overrated because I just respect different opinions on things. Like if everyone else says this is awesome, I guess I'm the oddball. That's the way I tend to take things like that. But like I went to go see Arrival, and it had been so hyped up to me that I was like, what? Like I'm not seeing what you guys are seeing. I watched The Shining and I go, okay, I can respect the craftsmanship, but like I'm just not seeing what you guys are seeing, that it's just like this super scary movie or anything like that. That's just not my experience watching the movie. La La Land, best musical in 50 years. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's got great performances, and it touches on some nice emotions about chasing your dreams and the consequences of that, and to really pursue things it'll cost you. Okay, that's all awesome, but the songs aren't all that great. So those are some that come to mind, but I don't know most. I would have a hard time picking that. 111 Master, Ford vs. Ferrari or Avengers Infinity War. It's tough to say. One is an event and the other is like a film. Infinity War, Endgame, those are events. They're obviously movies too, but they're tied to so much more. They're like a continuation of something. They're middle pieces and it'll move on after them. And then Ford vs. Ferrari is a standalone thing. How do you contrast the two? I don't know. I'm going to watch Infinity War way more times than I'll ever watch Ford vs. Ferrari. As for just pure cinema, Ford vs. Ferrari is, I think, a better piece of constructed cinema. Or I guess the other way to phrase it, on letter scores on my system, Ford vs. Ferrari. Entertainment, Infinity War. There you go. Twister 25. And tomorrow, I think both of those might be on my best of the decade list. Come back tomorrow for that. Check out which one comes out on top. I think they're both going to be on there. At least one of them will be. Twister 25 with Super Chat, no question. Thank you so much for that. A111s, what do you think the future of the MCU will be? I mean, I don't know. Because you don't really get a hint of it from these movies that they're doing in this phase. And then the phase after this, we're probably getting Fantastic Four and the X-Men. But what's the next big bad? I really don't know where they're headed with a lot of this stuff. So I'm as curious as anyone. I really just don't have a good idea because it's like Shang-Chi and we're going to do Doctor Strange horror movie and then we're doing the Eternals and a prequel and what to make all this, I really don't know. And I think this year's going to clarify all that with what these TV shows and this year's movies, whatever they set up. Twister, Monday I'm going to talk to my crush. High school. Awesome. Go for it. Be bold. You might get your feelings hurt, but that's part of the experience of life, is growing, having your heart broken, and, you're not really living unless you're taking chances and really putting yourself out there. Adam Thomas, love your content. What's your story of when you first realized you wanted to be a movie critic? So, I've got a video on my channel, From Kid to Critic. Like, it's on my channel. It's about 30 minutes long. The short version is, I've always been a person that's loved to talk about this stuff. I started my first movie webpage back in the 90s. It was a Jackie Chan fan webpage, had the little counter in the back corner. I mean, this is over 20 years ago. I was on the IMDb message boards constantly for a very long time. I was on the comment section over on Collider.com for a long time, commenting on YouTube. And then when, John Campea, Stockman, Johns, all those guys started coming up, I started thinking, I could do that. Like, that would be a lot of fun. I would love to do that. So I put out some videos in 2013. They're still on my channel. Put out a couple, stopped for 6 months. Put out a couple, stopped for 6 months. And then summer 2016, I was unemployed, had no idea where I was going with my life. Went to go see Ghostbusters, decided to put up a video. And it stuck. For whatever reason, that time, as opposed to the other times, it stuck. Probably because I didn't have a job, so I didn't have anything else to do. And it was at a point in time where I was really at a rough spot. I mean, it was literally an addiction treatment. Like, more in the day, I post a movie review, and then at nighttime, I went to 3 hours of outpatient addiction treatment. So pretty dramatic shift. And then, a year afterwards, I almost quit because I needed a new job. I was delivering paint and it wasn't paying the bills. So I started applying for jobs, and then Thor Ragnarok came out, and I put out my MCU ranking. It took off. And then Black Panther came out, and it had some rankings after that just exploded. And I realized that this was the path that I was on. So that's the quick version. There's better versions elsewhere, but excuse me, not better versions, but more detailed version elsewhere that you can check out. So all right, I gotta head on out. My screen is giving me trouble. I got to head on out. I have a live stream over on Patreon right after that. If you joined at any level, you can join that. There's normally about 10 people inside of those. And, if you support at any level, you can join in, ask all kinds of crazy questions. I do apologize if I missed any super chats or anything like that. My technology is not the best. Noah Mayfield, how am I supposed to get through high school? Focus on the future, whatever you really want in life. Don't care what people say, because they're immature people. Like, who cares what immature high schoolers think? I know in the moment it's rough, but it ends. High school's only 4 years, and then you go on with the rest of your life, and you don't really even think about it too much afterwards. Trying to see if there's a nice final question in here. I can't find one that seems like a good closer. Someone keeps asking most horrifying movie you've ever watched. Most horrifying movie I've ever watched? I don't know. Watching those Saw movies where people are just being tortured for 2 hours, that's pretty horrifying. But I don't know. I don't have a list of things like that, or kind of most horrifying things I've ever watched. Movies, I just don't affect me that much. Nice horror guy. Why did you hate The Grudge so much? I mean, it's all in my review. That's my opinion. My review. It's my opinion. I don't have like a secret second thought beyond what I said for 5 minutes in the video. Ebbar571. What do you think about a Jaws remake? I just don't think a Jaws needs to be remade, because I don't know what it would be. Like, I don't understand what you could add by remaking Jaws. What's added to Jaws by doing more? So I gotta head out. Gotta check one thing real quick. One final question. Like, here it is. I found it. From Mikey Campbell. What's the most overrated, underrated Marvel movie? Most overrated Marvel movie? I feel this one's more divisive. Obviously, I'm not crazy about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So when people say it's the best, I feel that's greatly overrated. I've never been as crazy about Winter Soldier as a lot of people. I really like it. People see something there that I don't see, so I would say that's overrated. Most underrated, I think there's a lot of Incredible Hulk. I never got the hate for that one. Like, I don't think it's great. I just don't get hate for it. It just seems very strange to hate that movie the way a bunch of people hate that movie. Anyway, if you want to continue the chat, join over on Patreon at any level, and you can join the chat. There'll be like 10 of us in there, and you can ask all the questions you want. Hopefully, these will be a regular part of my routine. Hopefully, I'll be back next Saturday at this exact same time. See you then.